Hello, Windward, and welcome to the Pencils Down podcast. In service of our mission to remediate our students' language-based learning disabilities, we take every instructional moment seriously, and we work to be intentional in everything that we do. This podcast is an opportunity for Jamie Williamson, our head of school, to have an informal series of unscripted conversations with different members of our community about who they are, what they care about, and what the Windward School means to them. And so, we're putting our pencils down, we're closing up our computers, and we're looking forward to sharing with you another conversation today.
So first off, I just want to say a big welcome back to the school year here. Pencils Down is ready for its second season, and really excited about our guest today. Every year I try to kind of think about a value that I really want to kind of live in and sort of really spend some time reflecting on over the course of the school year. And for this year, my value is that I'm focused really on is community. It's something I work on every year, but this year I decided to take, in my 7th year as head of school here, take a little bit of an extra special sort of thought process around community. And that's really why we have two incredible guests today from our Windward Parents Association. We have Jessie Spain, who is a middle school parent up here in Westchester, and we have Lindsay Friedman, who kind of spans both departments in the city. So you have a middle school and a lower school student down there. So. Yes. So welcome today. So glad to have you on. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to some of the other episodes, but I like to start with kind of a little bit of a kind of big gratitude push, right? I think this is just such a nice opportunity to sit down and say some really nice things to some people when I get a moment like this. And I just want to say thank you for the way you both are showing up in this space and what you have all had, I know the year is new and you're just getting started in your roles as WPA presidents. But I really appreciate all the work that you guys have done in the WPA in general to kind of help strengthen our community, to bring a really good sense of belonging and connection to new families and current families. You guys have been such great partners in the process of that. And it's really meant a lot to have you all in this space and in such a strong WPA. But also too, I just really appreciate how the two of you are showing up in your roles thus far this year, and I really look forward to having a fantastic year together. So welcome to the Pencils Down podcast.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, as we kind of get into this here, you both have such, and I'm really grateful to kind of know a little bit of your story, but we have some people out in the community who might not know your story as well. So would love if you would take a moment and talk about your journey to Windward, because you had children who went to a different school before you got here, and now they're here having an experience. And what's that been, that journey been for you and your family? So I don't know, Lindsay, if you want to start.
So Windward is a special place to our family for sure. It runs deep in our family. It's between my kids and my niece as well, which has been special for us. Yes, but we have had a journey, and I think that's the beautiful thing about Windward is everyone has had a journey to get here. So it's interesting for our family because my younger child, Emma, who's in 3rd grade, actually started at Windward first, which usually you don't hear that, but she just presented herself in a different way. And coming off of COVID, and being in preschool at that time was a real challenge. She's a December birthday in New York City public schools, which is not really wonderful, especially if you're struggling just a little bit. I had to really be an advocate for her. I wore my special ed public school teacher hat and sort of to notice things that I felt were really challenging her. And I felt that there was something deeper going on. And if you're not an advocate for your kid, then nobody really is, except once you get to Windward, then that all changes. And we fought, and we had to sort of question, is she really on the right path, or is something holding her back? Unfortunately, she had to enter kindergarten as a 4.5-year-old in New York City. We went to public school route, and that's where she started. And thank goodness for her speech therapist and her occupational therapist and Team Emma, who really stood behind us and were like, we will know by November if this is going to work or not work. Yeah. And it took till the end of October, we didn't even make it to November, to know that, the academics were just not working. Yeah. The social emotional piece, she's got it. We have this confident, vivacious, bubbly child who loves life and loves living and, truthfully actually still loved learning, which was remarkable. Yeah. But I think that's just because she's a lover of all things. And my biggest fear was she was going to lose that. Because of what she was experiencing every day. And I think that's probably what most parents can relate to the most. She was never alone during the day. She was either with a teacher or a student teacher. She couldn't do things academically. We would go into school to visit, and I would look at her work and there would be crossouts everywhere. You couldn't even tell. And the pain that brought me was terrible, but somehow she was still proud. So I rode that wave. I chose to focus on that, but I also knew we needed to do something else. And so we're grateful. I mean, she stepped foot in Windward and was, she already had so much confidence, but her confidence took on a new meaning.
She's been like the ambassador since she showed up.
I think she thinks she owns this place.
She is really an exceptional young lady.
Thank you. And I always, what I say about her is we gave her the wings she needed to fly by coming to Windward, but she didn't only fly, she soared. And it's emotional, but it's incredible. And then it was kind of funny because then her older brother, who saw her so successful, was like, I want to go there, And it's funny, with kids, you focus so much on one child that the other one sort of falls to the side a little bit. And then once you get one kid settled, all of a sudden things sort of erupt for the other. And Zach's years, he has charisma and charm in a different way. And he basically won over every teacher or adults in his school building, and nobody could believe that he was struggling. But I knew there was something going on. And again, here we were. We were able to get to the bottom of it, and Windward was where he needed to be. And I'll never forget, we were in this building, actually. He came for his admissions interview and sat in a class, and he walked outside, and we were right in that little horseshoe in front of the building, and he's like, Mom, I have to go here. And I said, that's great, I hope you can. And I said, can you just tell me why? And he goes, because it's okay to make a mistake here. That class was awesome. And that was so telling for me about the kind of kid that Zach is, but also the type of place that this is for our kids. And so we're grateful. My niece was here from 3rd through 8th grade and is thriving. And so for our family, it's just been such a wonderful place.
Well, we're so grateful to have you.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Jessie, so you have also have a great story in your heart.
Yes, I feel like we were very lucky because when our son was in kindergarten, his teachers kind of brought it to our attention. I don't have a background in, education, teaching, and he was my first. And at first when they brought it to us, I was kind of like, guys, he's 5. He's 5. Like, what are you talking about? It was a lot about executive functioning and, also just letters and all those kinds of things. And I was like, of course I got him tested, but I was like, come on, what do you mean? And when we did, we found, they kind of gave us answers, but then we kind of waited a little bit. But I feel fortunate enough that he had teachers along the way helping him and really helping us, kind of guide us. What's next? What do we do? Even when it came down to, should he stay at this school? Where should he go? I had a really amazing lower school, the head of lower school tell me, if this was my kid, this is what I would do. Just because it really, it just felt so scary and unknown, and you want to do the best for them, but you're like, at the moment, you're like, is it really an issue? Can they thrive here? And so we made the choice. We applied at Windward, got in, and then really after that, I was like, oh, why was I stressing so much? This is the most amazing place. And I think every time I've met, if I've mentored and met parents coming in and they've been accepted and their kids are finally going, I feel like it's such an amazing, they're always almost in tears because you're just you don't realize even if it's a quick journey, my son started in 2nd grade, it was fairly quick, but you don't realize how hard it can be and just the relief you feel when you're like, wait, they're somewhere where they are going to do great things and really be taken care of. And I feel like that is such an important thing. And just to see other parents who have those same feelings, those same reactions, that you're just almost in tears. The minute every person I've ever met at welcome, mentor things, they're like, oh, I'm just so relieved,
Yeah, and I think that relief and that kind of the weight feeling it's been lifted is such a common experience. But I do love the kind of the juxtaposition of the two stories, right? So one, a school district's not kind of helping you in the process. You've got to fight every step of the way. The other where you got a school that's actually kind of helping you along the way. And I love that kind of actually that difference. And I'm so grateful that you all had some help, but also some fierce advocacy in the process of that, right? Because I do think kids, when they get here, even when they get here first, second, grade, whether that light's gone out or the stress for them is like acts act like they can verbalize it as well, they still feel it, right? And there's a whole lot of there they can't put words to, they can't sort of like come to terms with, and sometimes that becomes really internalizing. I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I can't. And I'm just so grateful that the two of you and your sort of work really got kids here early, because we know from a research perspective that the earlier kids come into a space like this, the more successful they can be. So just kudos and hats off.
We're grateful
and
for
a lot
that.
of appreciation for the two of you on that. And I also think that, folks listening here, I do think there are so many threads. Like every story has its own little fingerprint to it, but it all fits in such an interesting and wonderful category of connection for other families. But so thank you both for sharing that. I really deeply appreciate that. And I know a lot of our community will. When we think about values, as I said earlier, like this, for me this year, community is like really a big thrust of what I'm thinking about. And how do we ever continue to grow and strengthen our community? I think Windward is such an interesting place for so many reasons. One is we have, this incredible research-based program. We know who we are, we know what we do, and we do that thing really, really well. We're going to get kids to learn to read, to write, to be better mathematicians, to be more confident in themselves as learners, to be better self-advocates, all those great things. But we have families who draw from such a large geographical area. We are like no other school in this vicinity. If you're at the Masters School or Greenwich or Hackley or Spence or Riverdale, you are in a fairly much tighter network of families. But here we have families up in Westchester especially who come from an hour 15, hour and a half away to bring their child to this building every single day. In the city, we got families from Brooklyn, over in New Jersey, who make their way over to Manhattan every day for the incredible service that we provide here. And I think with that, there's not a lot of opportunities for incidental, accidental community building. You don't just happen to see somebody at the grocery store or at carpool, or just down the street at the park every day. So we really have to be so intentional and so thoughtful about that, because when you draw from such a large geographical area, people are here because they weren't happy with the academics, but that doesn't mean they didn't love the community they came from, right? In other ways. And so we get sometimes a lot of pressure to be everyone else. And we always try really hard to kind of be who we are in those moments. But we can't build this great community that we have here without some really good support and help from a lot of different people in a lot of different spaces. And the WPA has really done such a great job of doing that. I remember when I got here 7 years ago, sitting down with the two presidents, and we'd had a history of being a little bit of a drop the kids off at the curb, right? We'll see you at three, and none shall pass across this threshold. And over the last 7 years, I remember walking down to the gym in the old lower school for the winter concert. And I love when we have those events for our school, because I get to meet parents, I get to see kids sing some really cute songs, some wiggles on the stage. Like, it just fills my heart with nothing but like love and appreciation for children in those moments. So I run downstairs because I know it's starting at like 10 o'clock, and I get down there a little bit early so I can talk to people. And we have teachers, we have kids, and we have a camera. And I was like, where are the parents at? Oh, we don't have parents in for this. It's too much of a big ordeal to do that. It's too distracting for the day, and it gets us a little bit off. So this is a quicker, easier way to do that. And I was like, I so appreciate everyone's work they put in here. The tech team had done a great job. The building team had done a great job organizing this. I said, but this is the last time we're going to do it this way, because this is a beautiful opportunity for families to be here with us in the building and see their kids doing something really adorable. So why would we not celebrate and lift that up? Now, famous last words, because only a month and a half after that, the whole world shut down. We took us a minute to get to realizing the vision I had for our spring concerts and our winter concerts. But we got there, and now we're doing things like having a little bit of a science fairish, dioramas for the sea creatures, having the art show for the lower school, trying to get more parents into the building to be able to help us and connect them to the work. Because it's rare that we are the only school a family gets to interact with. I know in some cases we get to be the school, yes. And I'm so grateful for that. but like 90% of our families are stretched between 2 and sometimes 3 different schools. So as we think about community here, I do think this level of intentionality and structure we got to put into it has to be a lot more thoughtful and a lot more deliberate in that process. So as you two think about your work in the WPA and the efforts that you guys have done to help build community, where do you see the WPA playing such a critical role in that in that community building?
I think it's great that that's sort of been a focus for you, because that's definitely a focus for us as well. As you mentioned, I am all in, right? Like both my kids are at Windward. This is where I am. This is the community that our family is in. And everyone, it's funny, we all are so grateful to be here, right? I think and we all have such a common bond, because the journey to get there was different for most, but also similar for everybody at the same time. And so we're all unified in this, and we can only hope that that helps bring us all together. And I think our vision is to really, as you said, get the parents into the building as much as possible, so we can get together and celebrate the incredible work that our kids do, because they work so hard. And for so long, they probably couldn't celebrate their work, and we just have so much to celebrate now. So I think already this year, we're off to such a great start. We had our first ever, in-person WPA meeting, which was exciting, for us to be able to come together and share some tips and tricks of the portal, and just, again, to have an opportunity to stand around and chat. And while there were familiar faces, there were a lot of new people too. And all it takes is one opportunity for someone to walk through the door to feel connected, to then let that transpire into some new idea for the school or for the community. So I think our goal is really just to keep having those moments, and even the small moments, like the coffees or even the grade get-togethers, have the parents show up so we can all connect in ways that we're looking for to help support our kids as much as possible, and the school that we're all so grateful for.
Yeah, I feel like even like we were saying, like small moments, like even having like grade reps just send out reminders, because it makes you feel like you're in the know, you're connected to your grade, you're connected to somebody telling you like, oh wait, there's photo day, I forgot about that. Just all the little things that are small, that are easy to do. It's simple to send reminders out and have parents come in if they can volunteer for a photo day, or it just helps like feel like you're part of the community. Because I feel like whenever I send, whenever we started sending our kid here, it's like I didn't question anything about the teachers, anything about what they're learning. I was like, this is the most amazing place, I don't even care. But you want to feel like you're part of something as well. Like I wasn't worried about any of that, but I want to still feel like I'm part of the community.
Oh, please.
I always think that too. Like we have this innate trust that just magically happens, right?
Yeah.
I can totally agree. Our kid walks through the door and we take that deep breath and we're like, whatever happens here is all good, right? And I think back to being a teacher, I'm like, I used to write weekly newsletters and I would update the parents, and I'm like, I'm good. Like I see the homework, I can kind of get a sense of what's happening, and it's all great because they're thriving and they're happy and they're confident and they're learning, and this is fine. And then all of a sudden you pause it a little while later and you're like, like, how can I be part of this now too? Now that we are invested in it, like how can we connect? And I think I completely agree. The grade reps and just our, mentors and people who are representing this school are really helpful with that.
I think we got a good system for it right now. And I also think that I'm just thinking about like last night we had back to school night at the middle school, right? And last week was in the city. Tonight we're here at the lower school. But we've started doing, because that's a spot where people show up for this, right? Especially some of our newer families, they want to understand, they want to meet the teacher, they want to get a sense of what's happening for that grade that year. And what's been really nice, and I think that I want to give full credit here, I'm pretty sure this was Todd Fiorella. If I'm wrong on that, someone tell me. But he had the idea of like, let's do a cocktail after the thing. So we have people come, and that's been such a well-attended event. And so we create those little like accidental moments for someone to meet. Oh my gosh, you're Lindsay, you're Emma's mom. I've been dying to meet you. We just haven't had the chance. And so I really think that's been such a nice sort of thing to do. We had our back to school coffee for our first through third grade in the city last week, and some new families showed up and some returning families showed up, and it was just really sweet to get a chance to connect and talk about some really some things that have been weighing on, especially with our youngest kids, like how do we talk about a learning disability? How do we talk about why they're at Windward with them? And having other families chime into that to like share their experiences, their thoughts. It was a really nice opportunity to kind of see how the sense of community was just really strengthening and coming together. So
It was great.
yeah.
It's nice when you're the back to school night too. You're sitting next to someone, you ask them who their kid is, and they're like, "Oh, I've heard that name."
Yeah,
Because this is a small group of kids that they're with, and you're like, they're with them. If it's LA, they're with them 3 times a day, and you're like, "Wait, I've heard that name," and it's a really nice. We even had like all of the classrooms where like parents didn't even have space to sit because there were so many parents. And
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
So it feels good. I don't think we're ever going to be where any of us would want us to be long term, but I think we're moving in such a great direction. This is a space where I just feel really proud of the work that WPA has done, really proud of the work our development team has done to help provide those connections, really proud of the work our building
We're grateful for
leadership has done to kind of pull people to that. And also just, we've had some really fun events like the spring fair that we're doing now in the city to kind of balance the fall picnic a little bit with our Westchester and our Manhattan families. But a lot of really fun events. And so I just look forward to every time we have a moment. I think I'm still getting water out of my ears from the dunk tank. But we looked at the photos from that recently, and I got to tell you, no one looks good with wet hair. Like, coming out of the water with but it was a lot of fun, and I think our youngest kids had a blast punching the button or hitting the button. So as I would imagine, we have some people who are listening who are thinking to themselves that now that they've got a chance to kind of hear from you a little bit more, like they're dying to get involved. So what are some ways that some of our new families or even returning families can get involved if they haven't had a chance to do that just yet?
So we were saying, I feel like there's sort of 2 different things that parents could really do. One is to stay informed, right? I think there's so much that happens within a day, and there's things that parents can do, right? There's the Wee Blast that comes out every week. On Mondays, there's the portal, which looks awesome. There's been some great updates, and I think it's really user-friendly. The WPA's own page is beautiful now with active information that people can refer to. There's, grade reps who email, there's WhatsApp chats, and just becoming part of that and sort of, buying into those systems is sort of the first step in becoming an engaged member of the community. And then, of course, when those events do come up, and I would say that there's about an event or some opportunity monthly for the most part. I feel like the first 2 weeks felt like a lot, and now I know our dates in Manhattan are a little different than the dates in Westchester, but we're all sort of taking a breath a little bit in Manhattan. We have photo day, and there will always be sign up geniuses to sign up to volunteer and look for them, and that comes out in the Wee Blast or through grade reps. There will be events, teacher appreciation, the spring fair, plenty of opportunities and events, photo day, as I mentioned, the book fair. There's different events that we'll have throughout the year, and we need parents. Otherwise, they can't happen. We decorate the lobby for Halloween, for Valentine's Day.
Which that keeps getting better and better every time we do that.
I was really proud
wow.
of what we did last year in New York. And actually, we know the parent we need to reach out. So be on the lookout for an email. You know who you are. But it was great. And the excitement that comes from the kids as they watch it unfold has been great. So there definitely are opportunities, and we're always reachable if you have questions to sort of tell us your niche, and sort of we can help fund the best thing for you to do too.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you touched on 2 really important parts here. One is the communication side of it, right? We have a really large community, 3 campuses, 4 divisions, like a lot to communicate. And I do think the Wee Blast is just a critical tool in that, right? So for those of you who are out there listening right now, if you haven't read the Wee Blast in a little bit, maybe take a little time, maybe Thursday morning, if you're having a cup of coffee, pull it up, after it comes out, but take the time to read it, because there's so much information in there. And we've tried to make it a little bit more efficient. So to kind of, if you don't have to read the whole thing, you can click on the link to get more, because some people want less, some people want more, some people want me to show up to the doorstep and go over the whole thing, and you get a wide variety of needs in there. But I would just encourage folks to, just as you did, to read and lean into the communication a little bit. If you have feedback for us, we'd love to hear that. The other thing is the idea of showing up. Right. We've talked about that at the back to school cocktail this year. That was a little bit of a theme of mine. We're going to do these things, But like, if we're here by ourselves, it doesn't help us kind of generate that. So, and I know in New York, we are all so busy at all points, right? There's many nights where I'm like 4 or 5 nights a week, I'm somewhere, right? But like when my daughter's got something at her school, like I carve out the time to go because I really want to make sure that I don't miss that, her spring concert or her play or, another opportunity to connect with some of her friends' parents. I think that's just such an important thing to do. So as you all think about kind of WPA work that's happening this year, is there anything as you're kind of getting yourself settled into your co-presidency here and like what you're going to be focused on and working on this year? Any kind of big initiatives we need to?
I think really enhancing the community.
Yeah.
We are totally aligned with you on that, and just continuing to have moments for the parents to show up. And whether those are big or small, just giving them the opportunity to come into the building. Because as you said, I think it's very different for parents to come to an event that's connected to their kids' learning versus just coming together for a cocktail or a cup of coffee. It's unfortunate, but we are all so busy, and there's only so many hours in a day. And I think when we connect it really to the school and the learning, that's when the parents show up. So
Any of the concerts or the science fair, like you said, it's an amazing opportunity. You get to see your kid, but also see other people and feel like you're part of their learning and the community.
The first year we did the spring concert back, I stood in the back and I took a photo of what was happening in the moment. And all you saw was these people having their phones out recording this. And like this little moment where their kid gets to sing for, a minute and a half, but like that was just so important. Or seeing how proud parents were on some of the science dioramas and how well the kids did for their presentations. And so those are things that I just think as a parent myself, those things make me smile. And I got to see my kids doing some really fun stuff. And so I'm really grateful that we were able to create some of those opportunities. And also, too, I'm just also reflecting back on how we've also added a lot of these kind of community service projects, like popping down to the Bronx to the Grassroots Groceries, which was such a great event. And we got to figure, it's happening again?
Yes.
Wonderful. I will definitely come. I'm still wearing my sweatshirt from that event.
And that was so nice because it was Westchester and Manhattan together, which I think has been a really
Location
nice
was super
focus
easy to get to for everybody. And I just thought the event was like I left there with like, I'm so glad there are people in this world who are helping with food scarcity because this is a real challenge in a lot of places in New York. So it felt really good to kind of be able to give back because I do think that we are such a lucky community in so many ways. We have the ability to fund a lot of scholarship programs in our communities. We have worked to make sure we're providing opportunities for families when they're sort of working through the DOE process in the city. We've tried to really help and expand our free reading screening stuff to make sure we're giving back to the community. So I think when we get a chance to bring kids in to talk about service back to their community is such a really meaningful thing for them. I know those were experiences when I was a kid that still stand out to me as when I reflect back on my experience. And I think they'll do the same. So, and I'm so glad you brought up the idea and kind of echoed that a little bit about the idea of we're all busy. And so when you're a parent, there's never a dull moment, right?
Correct.
Running to this soccer thing or that event or this after school piece or a doctor's appointment or something on Saturday. And I have to imagine that the two of you spend a fair amount of time in support of your children. So I'd like to ask everybody this question because I do think that it's never a bad idea to just remind ourselves that like we do have to put our own oxygen mask on in the midst of some really chaotic and stressful times. I'm like the worst for this. So this is why this is like on my list here because I am trying to get better at doing that for myself when I need to do that. But the topic of self-care comes up. Right. So as you all think about navigating the stress in your day-to-day lives, what do you do to take care of yourselves in the process?
Okay. I usually make an effort like daily to do some sort of run, walk, go to the gym. I also do it like classes with friends, which I get to do both things, see some friends and hang out while
Best
I'm
of
working
both
out.
worlds.
And I feel like that keeps me like normal and feeling good, and it's something for me.
Yeah, outstanding.
Mine is pretty similar. I'm a very loyal SoulCycle rider in New York. And that's really how I start my day. Most days at either 8:30 or 9:30 from Monday to Thursday solidly, just because that's my escape and my kids know it. And again, I've made friends there. I have like a whole SoulCycle crew. But it's important. It's how I unplug And I block out my calendar for that, which it's funny because Jessie and I both are like that. Like our meetings are at noon. And I so appreciated that because I need the morning, right? We drop our kids at school. I need a minute to regroup, allow myself the time for me.
Yeah.
And then I'm happy to chat. So 12 o'clock is ideal, which has been really nice for both of us, I think.
Yeah. You know, I have a fairly busy brain, you know, like I'm always like, it's hard to turn off. Like if I wake up at 2 a.m, like it just, the lights turn on, not in my house, but like in my brain, and I can't go back to sleep because I'm too busy like working through something. And the only time I really get a little respite from that is when I'm on the bike or I'm doing some like really kind of more intense, on the intense side for me, like physical activity. That's when I get to like turn everything off and just like be and breathe. And I love that because it gives me a chance to kind of reset the hard drive a little bit, so to speak, and show up a little fresher, even though my legs might feel a little bit more tired. But it's a good feeling when you've gotten some really great activity in to help manage that. So I really appreciate. So with the Soul Cycle connection, are we going to get you on the ride up to Albany next year?
I don't ride a real bike.
But I think that we can. But there's solutions for that. We can fix that.
There are solutions for that, and those. We'll talk about that. But
Happy
yes,
to.
it's funny though that's just it is. Yeah, that's my thing, and I think it's also, but it all ties into here because the community that sort of evolved from that, and just like our kids, you know, the confidence it gives, and it's just great.
Yeah. Being connected to others. I don't know if you've ever done any reading on the Harvard Happiness Study, which I think is like it was a seminal study, right? So long-term longitudinal study. They followed folks from early in life up until like their 70s and 80s. And really the marker of what makes someone really happy is actually deep and positive relationships. So that's at the core of this, right? And having people who see you, support you, care about you, that you're in community with is like one of the biggest markers for happiness in our life. So thank you all for helping connect folks to Windward. It really means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to people who are out in our community, the work you do, and I could not thank you enough. So, and also thanks for coming up and having a conversation today.
No problem. It was a pretty drive.
Yeah. But thank you both for the work you do on behalf of Windward and your support of our program. And I'm just so grateful to have your kids and family here with us. So thanks.
Thank
and
you.
I look forward to a great year.
Yes.
Us too.
Okay.
Very excited.
Well, thank you both.
Our
Thank
pleasure.
you.